Hey friends, Joe here, and if you like our Boss Better Now podcast, then you should also be getting my free Boss Better emails. Every other Monday, I'll send you a simple note with advice, encouragement, and resources to help you boss better. Just text the word Boss Hero to 66866 to get signed up. That's Boss Hero, all one word, to 66866. Or you can visit bossbetternow.com to subscribe. Now let's get to the podcast. If it seems as though some on your team just don't care anymore, we're going to talk about why that's happening. Oh, and a note, it's not just about COVID and burnout. Plus, the first question every new boss should ask to get off on the right foot with new direct reports. We're glad you're here now on Boss Better Now.
You're listening to Boss Better Now. Please welcome speaker, author, and hat collector, Joe Mull.
Some of you are listening on your commute. Some of you are listening during your workout. Some of you are listening at lunch or while cooking a meal. Wherever and whenever you're listening, thank you for being here. We are so glad that you chose to join us on our show. Boss heroes like you, people who strive every day to be better bosses but don't always know how, we hope have found a home here where we dispense advice and encouragement and a little bit of humor to act as food for the boss soul. Joining me is my fantastic co-host, professional coach, Alyssa Mullet. Greeting, my friend. Greetings, not one greeting, not singular. Greetings, my friend.
Greeting.
No, that's live long and prosper. Yeah. I feel like you blended. Was that like a Mork and Mindy meets Star Trek right there at the same time? Is that what happened?
Greetings.
No, that was Nanu Nanu, right?
I was just responding in kind, I felt.
Well, we've gotten off to a chaotic foot here with plenty of 80s references, so we've really retained that Gen Z audience here right off the bat. Go us.
We are who we are. We got to go for it.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here today, my friend, because I want to talk about apathy. Have you been feeling apathetic lately about anything?
I might need a refresher on the whole context of apathy. So can you give me like a definition? May I have it in a sentence, please? No, I just need a refresher on the difference, I guess, between apathy and all the other words I want to use. Disinterest,
Sure.
burnout, like all of the other things.
Yeah. There's some interconnectedness to everything that people are experiencing right now, right? So apathy really is defined as a lack of interest, a lack of enthusiasm or concern. And so, I think people experience that as just a lack of get up and go or a sense of, I don't care. And I think we all have probably felt that in certain ways about certain things in recent months. I mean, I've experienced it. There are some things that I do here at work that I've long been passionate about and been driven and have found myself going, yeah, whatever. I think it's human nature to experience apathy periodically around certain things. I think it is something that even pre-COVID, a lot of leaders struggle with. They would see an employee and feel like they're just going through the motions or they're just doing the minimum, and they would say, why don't they have any enthusiasm for this? Why don't they have any interest in it? Why don't they seem to care? And now, with everything that we've all been through for so many months, I think that's just occurring at a higher level and with a greater frequency. So with that definition as a backdrop, have you experienced apathy around anything lately?
For sure. I have experienced it in my life as this counterbalance to what I have foundationally thought of myself in terms of this very deeply empathetic person, that there has to be some kind of balance, because you cannot healthfully digest the world as it is right now empathetically all the time.
Yes.
There has to be a limit to what you will put your mental health through in order to continue to have any will to be a part of humanity. So
Yes.
I have absolutely kind of embraced at some points apathy, disassociation, however
Yeah.
you want to, all the means to which to obtain a little bit of that apathy. Yeah.
And let's acknowledge that fleeting apathy is completely normal around
Yeah.
almost anything. Nobody is turned up to 11 on their motivation on everything all the time, right? Nobody is completely on fire every day about like, I'm changing the world with this report that I'm putting together, this accounting spreadsheet. Like, it's completely normal to come to work some days and be like, this part of my job probably isn't my favorite. I guess I'm just going to
These
get it done,
these
grind through it.
these TPS reports really do it for me. I mean, that's why I get out of
That's right.
bed
That's
in
right.
the morning.
There wasn't a cover sheet on yours, though, so I'm going to need to see you. Yeah, I'm going to need you to come in tomorrow. By the way, for anybody listening, that's a reference to the movie Office Space, which would probably be a pretty great escape for you right now if you've not seen that movie. Well, we, in our Boss Better Leadership Academy, our subscription program, we did a coaching clinic recently on apathy. This was something that our subscribers had kind of started to talk about and said, we want some help around this or some insight around it. And so I spent some time kind of going deeper on like, where are the root causes of apathy? And what I took to that coaching clinic and what I want to share today with our boss heroes is in most cases, not all, because very few things have absolutes tied to them, but in most cases, we can trace apathy back to one of 4 root causes. And the first is, to nobody's surprise, burnout. Right? Burnout is really about no longer having the drive or the skills to cope with what is being put in front of you. And so if you are experiencing apathy in the workplace from some of your direct reports right now, this is probably the most likely culprit because burnout is at an all-time high. We are experiencing unprecedented levels of burnout and exhaustion, 2 different things, across nearly every industry because of everything that we've all gone through for the last 2 years. But here's the thing. Burnout was at an all-time high before COVID. And so we got to remember that too, that work has been hard for a long time, and the constant encroachment of it on our lives and the many things that people are asked to deal with outside of work and all the different ways that we tend to grind and deplete people of their emotional capital can lead to burnout. And so if the root cause of apathy is burnout, what we need for folks in most cases is some kind of change of scenery. Right? Maybe they need a change in their duties. Maybe they need a change in their schedule. They need some more time away. They need an adjustment of their workload. Maybe they need to be surrounded by different coworkers for a time. Getting away or a change of scenery in some respects is likely the only cure for burnout, but that is one of the root causes of apathy. You want to comment on that before I go on to the next one, Alyssa?
No. I concur. For me, apathy has been a necessary introduction, but
Yeah.
certainly there are experiences where folks are not wanting to feel apathy.
Right.
And so that's certainly what I can appreciate, this kind of unwillingness to stay in this place, because it's not healthy to stay there either, obviously. Yeah.
But I completely take your point that we still at times need to give ourselves permission to feel it. Because that's, like we said, we got to normalize that nobody is like, all go all the time. And that's just a recipe for other kinds of health problems.
For sure.
So if people aren't burned out at work, one of the other reasons you might have people who are showing up in an apathetic way is because of low morale. So morale is this sense of why bother? Right. And there's a lot of different experiences that employees can have that can lead to low morale. So, for example, if they have a toxic coworker who's getting away with murder, right, who is acting out or not doing as much as everybody else, and there's never a consequence for that bad behavior, that person's going to look around and say, why bother? And that's going to impact morale. Another example might be if I have a boss who takes credit for my work, right? I'm busting my hump and I'm trying to do great work and make a lot of change. But when the time comes, the light never gets shined on me and I don't get credit for that work. So it's like, why bother? There's for employees who maybe start to believe there's no future for them. at their employer, right? If they've been passed over for opportunities, or they're in a position that just has no opportunity for advancement, they may start to have low morale. They may start to say, why bother? And they may then start to show up apathetically with a lesser level of enthusiasm. So burnout is a root cause. Low morale is a root cause. The third potential root cause for apathy is what I see as a lack of purpose. They do not see their work as making a difference. They are unable to see the impact their work has on the lives of others, or on a problem that is worthy of being solved. And now maybe that's because their efforts are ignored, or maybe it's because it feels like they're I just totally lost the analogy that I wanted to use. What's that analogy about, like the ocean? Like they're trying to raindrop in the ocean or something like that. That's the
Yes, something like that. I understand what you're going for, even though I don't know the whole thing.
It completely went
I was going
away.
to. It's okay. Maybe it'll come back. Can I say something
Please
about
rescue
'cause
me,
I
save me.
from the ocean that you can't remember? So I think what I am understanding the difference between morale and purpose is this the morale is kind of centered off of this concept of why bother because of these other people, right? Because of other
Mm.
people's actions, right? Versus purpose is more of this internalized directional of meaningful, right? And what
Yes.
you're
Maybe it's beliefs
contributing.
versus experiences. That's a great way of thinking about it. I'm having these experiences with other people, and it's making me think, why bother? And that's low morale, which leads to apathetic behavior. But internally, if I don't see that my work is having an impact, if I don't feel that, if I don't have that belief internally for one reason or another, then that can also lead to burnout. Perfectly well said.
Did
So
it come back to you yet?
I don't know. There's some kind of
It's
great
gone.
analogy about trying to shovel all the water back in the ocean, what I was going to try to use. And I like opened my mouth, and there was total silence in my brain. And I was like, oh, well, that didn't happen for me. But
Listeners, when you get done listening to this episode, let us know what that was that Joe was thinking.
yeah,
we know
I know
you
some
know.
people are. It's
Someone
right
out there knows.
Yep, that's exactly right. But it it's a lack of mattering is what I'm trying to get at with purpose. And so that's the potential third root cause of apathy. I have one more, and it's really kind of broad, but I call it personal. Sometimes people are not able to show up at work with enthusiasm or interest because of things that are going on with them outside of work. And the list of things that could fall into that bucket are way too many to name. But, maybe their kids are struggling at school and they can't focus. Maybe their relationship is in trouble. Maybe they've got some health challenges. Maybe they're in some financial distress. Maybe they're the primary caregiver to an elderly parent, and it's just really zapping them in a way that we can't fully understand unless we've been through that. And so we may not always be able to address the root causes of apathy for someone at work if they are, in fact, being caused by circumstances outside of work.
So, as a leader, I think what we're trying to help folks do is by understanding these causes of apathy, understand that you're not going to be in the position of fixing all of that in
Not
every
always.
single case, right?
That's right.
Moreover, what you can extend in lieu of fixing, understanding, empathy, and grace,
Yeah.
right? What does that actually translate to? It might translate to, hey, they need this project taken off their list, or they need to leave, 2 hours early on a Friday. All of those things, right?
Yep.
It can be very specific, or it could just be a generalized communication of understanding that you get it. We're all human. And maybe taking a look at yourself and saying, okay, where am I being apathetic? What am I experiencing? Again, taking the opportunity to give yourself some grace
Mm-hmm.
as the boss and say, I might not be able to bring my A game every day,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. That's okay.
Right. And I think the other lens through which we have to view it as leaders is to ask ourselves, is the way that this person is showing up, if they are apathetic, if they're lacking interest or enthusiasm, is it doing harm?
Hmm.
And if the answer is yes, consistently over time, then you have cause to try to set some stronger boundaries or have more direct feedback conversations. The caring almost switches in that circumstance from, maybe at first I'm caring about the person over the position, and I'm trying to be supportive and do everything that you just said, and give them space and give them encouragement and connect them to resources and understand and coach. But there may come a point where this just isn't working, because this person's circumstances, whether they're burned out or whether their morale is low or whether they don't feel like their work makes a difference or whether they've got something personal going on at home, where you actually have to say to someone, are you happy here? This is one of those boss scripts we gave out before.
Mm-hmm.
Or you may have to be even more direct and say, this can't continue. This isn't working. There is harm being done. And either the behavior has to change or the person in this role has to change. And all of that is legitimate if there's harm being done, and if you've done all that you can to help move that person away from the root causes of their apathy, at least away from the ones that you can control and influence.
Yeah, we've talked before about the establishment of a pattern,
Yeah.
right? Being a telling sign of when you need to cross that line from the understanding to holding people accountable.
Yep.
And I think that that's another good line of connection to make in this particular conversation, because the thing is, we can sit in a place of burnout for a long time because some of us don't recognize that we're burned
That's
out,
right.
Our bodies might be telling us before our brains listen. And so it's important to have really strong communications about these pattern behaviors and what is actually harming. Pretty routinely, because the tolerance that we each have and that the organization should have for apathy is going to be different.
Yeah. And I think it's helpful to give folks this kind of inventory of root causes, because sometimes left to our own devices, we assume, well, people don't care or they're not motivated and I need to motivate them, right? We just talked about this in the last episode. What do you believe about people? Do you believe that, okay, if they're not enthusiastic, then that means they don't care? Well, that's elementary, right? That's falsely reductive, and it assumes something about their character that's probably unfair to assume. Versus, okay, I think most people are pretty driven. Most people want to do a good job. And if I'm looking at someone who has previously been that person, then I have all the more proof and evidence that I need that that's the case. Then the question becomes, what's this about? Then I have to get curious and say, oh, well, what were we talking about on that episode of that podcast? They said it could be burnout, could be morale, could be purpose, or could be something personal. Let me try to get in there and check in with this person and connect and see if we can't do some work around some of those things, offer some support, offer some resources, offer some services, or just offer a empathetic ear and see what that does for us. And so I think that's a point really well taken.
Yeah. And do your own self-inventory around this too.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so we've talked a few times, Boss Heroes, on here about this BossBetter Leadership Academy subscription that we offer to organizations. And that whole model of apathy was a piece of the larger program we did for our subscribers a few months ago on overcoming apathy. And anyway, our BBLA subscription provides all the leaders in an organization with bite-sized monthly programs from time to time from me. It also provides some monthly Q&A office hours where you can pop in and ask me questions. And we also have a digital vault full of training content that managers who are subscribed can access 24/7. And so the whole program is really designed to help busy leaders keep showing up as better bosses. And so if your organization is looking for an affordable way to provide ongoing year-round leadership development support to the managers who work there, then this might be a good fit. And you can email us at hello@joemull.com and ask about that subscription, and we can send you more information. In the meantime, are there other aspects to apathy that you want help with? Are there other questions you'd love to see us tackle? If so, just shoot us an email at bossbetternow@gmail.com, and we might ask your question on the show and get you some answers. I don't know if they're going to be great answers. They're going to be our answers. We're not going to always have the answer. We might give you options. I think that's as best as we can promise people, Alyssa.
Yes, agreed.
And so we come once again to the CQOTW, which is how the cool kids refer to the camaraderie question of the week. Bosses build camaraderie on teams by making it easier for people to find things in common with each other. That's why here on the show every week, we give you a question you can use at meetings to facilitate connection and build camaraderie. Alyssa, I can't wait to hear this. What was the worst style choice you ever made?
All of them. Anytime that I thought I could be in trend, that was the wrongness right there. Although I have to, in sticking with our Generation X theme of today, I have to say I had a particular affinity for genie pants, or you might also know them as MC Hammer pants.
Okay. Was that an I Dream of Jeannie reference?
Well, I can't be the only one that called them genie pants, I don't think.
I'm not familiar with the term, unless you're referring to I Dream of Jeannie, which I don't think you are.
So I am thinking about pants that were, cotton and or like sometimes they were really shiny, silky, whatever. Okay. And then they ballooned out from the hips all the way down. But at the very end, they were like V-cut almost, at least for women. Okay. For girls in the 90s. It was.
I like how generic you made that. You made it a whole decade.
The 1900s. They were like V-cut so that they came up and they showed your ankle and part of your calf. How salacious. And pointed on the other, side. Okay. I did have a particular set because it was always a coordinating top and pants that did give me like sailor / genie vibes because I think it had like anchors on it. It was white and then it had like these gold and black emblems of like anchors or something like that. And then it had a big thick black waistband, the elastic, stretchy kind. And
now, were you trying to keep up with style at the time because you saw other people wearing this sort of thing, or were you going out on your own as a trendsetter?
Oh, dude. So first of all, you remember that I grew up in a town of like 600 people. So when I say trend or on style, that would have meant about 2 years post actual trend is whenever we were on trend.
Got it.
Yes,
okay.
Correct. That's when we received the information. Yes. And so when I received the information is when I subsequently made said transition into whatever. Pegging the jeans.
All yes. Things. Yeah.
But that's coming back. You know that, right? That is coming back.
I thought you were going to say you started pegging your jeans for the first time like 2 weeks ago because that's how long it took for the trend to get to you. But you're right. I mean, the MC Hammer pants reference I get totally because, yes, mid-40s totally get that reference and remember that too. That definitely had a moment. And it's funny because as you were describing them, I'm realizing that my daughter, who is 11, actually has some pants like this now that are like really loose and kind of baggy, and it's all about comfort, but they have the cuffs at the bottom. And because now everything's going the other way. It used to be all skinny, and now it's all roomy again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, do you remember the hydro, like the color wave thing? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
You put the handprint on the shirt? Yes.
Change colors. That was so awesome.
Those are great. Oh wow,
Yeah.
total flashback.
Okay, so now I need to hear what yours are.
Worst style choice. There's two I'm going to tell you about. So,
okay.
Do you have a picture from your childhood that you just can't get away from? Like it keeps coming back. Like everywhere you turn, for some reason you end up seeing this picture. Like, for some reason it shows up in Facebook memories, and even though it was taken 20 years before Facebook existed, why is that on Facebook? Or you see it at your parents' house because it's in a frame or a photo album. Like it just, it's on the wedding slideshow. I have this picture of me. I believe it was right at the end of my freshman year in high school or beginning of my sophomore year. And I'm sitting in the backyard at my cousin's house. And so, like, what age is that? 15? Maybe 14? And I am sporting a mullet and a Motley Crue t-shirt.
Yes. I was hoping for a mullet. I really was. Yes.
It was the ultimate. So this was like 1990, right? Or 1991 maybe. And I'm sporting the famous spiked mullet. So the front and the top is spiked, like with the goo. And then I've got the mullet coming down to like the lower part of the neck. And I'm wearing this Motley Crue t-shirt. And I remember feeling like I was completely in style at the time. And I look at that now and I'm like, oh, dude, that is just not working. So that's answer A. Answer B is that in grad school, one summer after the school year had finished and I was just doing I was still at a full-time position, but it slowed down a lot in the summer. A colleague friend of mine convinced me that we were going to shave our heads for the summer. Now, he wore bald often, like a super low buzz cut or bald often, and I never had. And I was like, I could end up like, what if it ends up being a really good look for me? How will I know until I try? And like when you try, you're like, the summer where there's not as many people around and whatnot, that's a good idea. This was a terrible choice. This was an awful choice. I want you to imagine me without hair, but imagine if you took my head and you dipped the top of it in white paint. That's what it looked like. Because the skin under there has never seen the light of day, Alyssa. And when you shave it all off, it is gleaming snow white.
Beacon. Becomes a beacon.
Yes. And as soon as I did it, I was like, oh God, what did I do? And so needless to say,
the Q-tip.
That's I wore hats a lot that summer because as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, grow. Please, for the love of God, grow.
And so is that why you're a hat collector? Because I never got to that.
No, I've always worn hats, and you could probably tell I've always worn hats because of my receding hairline, right? You slap a hat on your head enough times for enough years, eventually those guys are going to surrender and start to, evacuate or retreat. My receding hairline is a byproduct of too much hat wearing. I've worn hats since I was a kid. But having a significant hat collection came in quite handy in the summer in which I regrettably shaved my head.
Oh, my.
So those are the two worst style choices I have ever made.
This was funny. My face hurts from laughing. We need to move on because it hurts.
And that's the camaraderie question of the week. All right, friends, we wrap up today with a boss script. Our boss script today is the first question a new boss should ask somebody that they are supervising for the first time. Now, this can go in a couple different directions. Maybe you are newly hired and you are introducing yourself to the team. And as you are connecting one-on-one with people, this is a question that is a great first question. Or maybe you've hired somebody new into your team and you've been supervising the other people there for a while, but this person is new. This question is a great first question that I think should be asked constantly. And the question is this: how are you feeling? Now, I know that sounds really simple and generic, but I love this question because of what tends to happen when we have a new person that we're supervising. Again, whether we're new to the team or whether they're new to our team, we tend to immediately dive into housekeeping, or get to know you, or here's what's coming up next, or like generic stuff like how are you? And I really like this question. How are you feeling? Can you imagine sitting down? You've got a brand new hire. It's their first day. They've walked in. You're the first appointment on their schedule. And they walk into the office and they sit down in the chair at your desk, and you sit down and you say, Alyssa, okay, how are you feeling? That's a different kind of question than maybe you would expect to get first. And what's going to happen next? If you just got hired by me, Alyssa, and it's a brand new job and this is your first day, and you drove to the place and you figured out the parking and you found it and it's all new, and you sit down in front of me and I say, Alyssa, how are you feeling?
I'm going to go one of these. Well, actually, I'm really freaking nervous, and oh my gosh, this has been so stressful, and and then I'm gonna word vomit all over you, whether you're ready for it or not.
I mean, maybe.
That's an awesome start. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Or, most people would go, I think there would be that pause where you kind of take that inventory and you're like, I'm good. How are you? Like some people might just go, I'm okay. How are you? Or some people may not do like the whole vulnerable thing like you described. They might not want to do that because they're afraid that people will think they're unprepared. They might just say, I'm excited to be here, I'm good. And I think the beauty of this question is that it shows them what we care about first above all other things, which is them, their feelings, what's going on inside. And I think the value of this question becomes greater when we ask it again and again and again. So at the end of their first day, okay, you've gotten through this first day. How are you feeling? Because sometimes what we do is we say, what do you need? What questions do you have? Do you have anything that you're struggling with?
Yeah.
But to stop and say, let me check in with you. How are you feeling? I think it evokes a different kind of substantive concern and investment in how that person is moving through that experience.
It issues this kind of directive that their feelings about anything are of concern and of care to you, right? And
are valid no matter what they are.
Right. And so whenever people, you sure, not everybody's going to be like me and, word vomit all over you. Some people might be so, kind of programmed to say, I'm good. How are you? Instead of really truly registering that you're asking about their feelings versus how are you? Like, it's not a greeting. Okay. This isn't a greeting of, hey, how you doing? No. This is, how are you feeling? It's a whole different wavelength. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm reminded of a lot of the MBTI workshops that I've done over the years, the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And I will avoid going into a whole deconstruction of that instrument and its effectiveness. And just to say that some people like to make decisions based on relationships. So they're relationship focused versus some people like to make decisions based on logic and analysis. And so they actually step back in a macro view kind of way. And so I would always do this exercise with groups that I was using MBTI with, where I would say, what do you want your boss to ask you on your first day of work? And, all of the people of one persuasion in the room who had one preference, who are relationship focused, would say, I want him to ask about me and how I'm doing and my family and what's important to me. And the people who are logic and analysis and kind of very sort of task driven would be like, I wanted to ask me what I need and then set me off to do what I need to do. And so we would always have these really interesting juxtapositions in the room where I would say to the logic and analysis group, how would you feel if the first thing your boss did on the first day was say, listen, for the first 90 minutes today, we're going to go to Starbucks, and I just want to know everything about your family. I want to know about you. I want to know the story of you. What's their reaction? Like they're dying inside. They're like, no, that is not the kind of relationship I want. That is uncomfortable. Versus if they had said that to the group that was very relationship focused, they're going, oh my goodness, this person like really cares about me. So people just experience that differently. And so I like this question because it is a way to express to people of all persuasions that you care about them without creating discomfort for anyone.
Yeah. People can take it or leave it. And they can take it
exactly.
and run with it, or they can say, okay, here you go. This is where I'm at. I'm cool with that.
And it's an important question to ask when other new things happen. Maybe there's new directives, there's new change, there's new policies. Maybe there's a new manager on the team and you're co-managing the team. And so, hey, this person came in, we've made some changes. How are you feeling? How are you feeling is a great first question in almost every circumstance. And I think you will get richer and deeper answers the more you ask it. The first time you ask it, it might feel like a kind of cursory, surfacey, it's like, how are you doing? And people are just kind of programmed to answer in generic response. But the more you ask it and the more sincere you are about caring about the answer, I think the more power it has over time.
Agreed.
So ask it. If you're a new boss supervising new people in either direction, your boss script, the first question you can ask people, how are you feeling? That's a boss script. All right, friends, we have reached the end of the show this week, and one thing we would like you to know and that we would like to ask simultaneously is about reviews. Reviews are really important to podcasts, and so if you like our show, we would really appreciate it if you take a moment right now to leave us a review. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, they definitely take reviews. You just leave a comment in the box below the episode if you're watching on YouTube, but if you're on Apple, just look for the link that says write a review on the show page. On all other platforms like Stitcher and Spotify and whatnot, there are varying degrees of being able to leave a review or not. And so if you're listening on a platform where you can't leave a review there, then just post it somewhere else, like on LinkedIn or Facebook, or write it on a piece of paper and tape it to a tree outside your house. We don't care. We're grateful for any nice thing you have to say about our show. In the meantime, thank you for listening, and take care of yourselves out there, friends.
This show is sponsored by Joe Mull and Associates. Remember, commitment comes from better bosses. Visit joemull.com today.